The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. We're in Tampa today. Yeah. You know, so many shows that sometimes I forget what city I'm in, but this is the great city of Tampa. And we are also do our show out of Orlando and South Florida. This is, I got to tell you, we've got 90 shows, and this is without a doubt my favorite show. Mainly, they've been with us about 10 years, and they can't say this, but I can. They are the top community association law firm in the state of Florida. We're lucky today. Not only do we have one of the attorneys, but we have both. One that you definitely know by now is Alan Swartzide, attorney Alan Swartzide. And we have a new guest with us today. Kirsten, have you been with us before?
Hi, I'm Kirsten Hensa. No, I've not been with you and the show. Today is actually my debut appearance here. But I have been with the firm quite some time, since 2010. So
wow, that is a long time.
Yes, going on my 14th year. So,
well, Alan,
I'm happy to be here.
We're really glad to have you here. We're going to be talking about community association law today. So if you live in a condo or an HOA and you have an association there, we will probably end up answering one of your questions. You can do several ways to get into the show. You can actually call here at 561-623-9429. You can watch us on TV by going to www.w4cy.com. We have a great chat line. And these are ways that you can join the show, or you can text us during the week at 954-336-3767. We get a lot of text questions. We will be asking those questions. We'll be taking phone calls. And we're also going to be, well, this is a mouthful, Alan. I mean, this is a long stuff. You guys have been with me so long. And can I say happy holidays, Alan?
You can. Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, fortunately, I somehow managed to not eat for a whole day.
You did?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we do on Yom Kippur, which is the holiday that just passed. And, you know, we make it through the day in exchange for God granting us the privilege and the blessing of bagels. So I made it through, and now I'm good to go.
You are the man. Congratulations. I always try, but I get so hungry by the end of the day, and I can't do it. But hey, congratulations, you, and happy holidays to all of our Jewish friends out there. Let's get started. We have about the next 50 minutes. We've got all kinds of information for you. I think if you want to know about the events that are coming up by K. Bender Rimbaum, we run those on the scroll during the show. Kirsten, I'm going to start with you. The first question if you don't mind, just tell people a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, like I mentioned, I've been with the firm since 2010. To exclusively, condo community association law. I'm one of the general counsels. So we do, just like Alan, pretty much anything except I don't go to court. We have a whole other department that has many attorneys that deal with arbitration, mediation, litigation. Recently I relocated to Tampa, so I'm the managing attorney for the Tampa Bay office.
We love
so
Tampa.
I'm here to assist any our current Tampa Bay clients and anyone else that needs legal assistance in the Tampa Bay area.
And I'm going to interrupt if you don't mind.
Just go ahead,
to
Alan.
clarify another point, because Kirsten, I know, will not mention it, but she was also recently elevated within the firm to firm member. So I want to make that clear because I know her well enough to know she'll never say it, but she deserves to be recognized for it.
So Alan,
thank you, Alan.
Kirsten's on the second floor now. She got elevated.
That's right.
Yep, she got elevated. She jumped right over a couple people's heads. That's the way we operate.
I hope your nose doesn't start bleeding. And I got to tell you, man, I love our audience. You've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4 text, Kirsten, people welcoming you to the show.
Oh, how lovely!
One of them said you're prettier than Alan. I didn't think anybody was prettier than Alan. Anyway, welcome to the show, and just to show you what a nice guy I am, I'm going to start you off with the first question. This is from Joe in Tampa. Due to the high cost of living, I want to take my boat out on the dock and park it in my condo. I'll bet you there's going to be a lot of people like that. Can I do that legally?
That's a good question, Joe. So let me just kind of start off the bat by saying, there's nothing in the statute that would necessarily address Joe's question. This is one of those questions that will depend on what the governing documents for Joe's condo provide. I know listeners don't always like when we respond questions with, it depends, but this is one of those situations. So, what he's referring to is, use restrictions. Is he allowed to park a boat in the condo? And that's something you're just going to have to look at the governing documents. And just a quick reminder or refresher, your governing documents consist of your declaration of condominium, your articles of incorporation, and your bylaws. And in terms of the hierarchy of these documents, your declaration is going to be your supreme document, right? It's the contract between the association and the owners that purchase units in the condominium. And it is that document that's going to contain your use restrictions. So Joe will want to look at his declaration of condominium to see whether there are any restrictions in parking boats or, boat trailers.
Kirsten, I think we're going to get a lot of people wanting to, the cost of living for a lot of these condo, with the insurance going up as high as it's gone up, and a lot of the tennis, the golf, everything is going up, and it's going to make it really tough for a lot of these people who are on a fixed income. And I think they're going to be, how hard is it to feel sorry for someone who's got a boat, but it costs. I want to go, I think it's pronounced Cheryl in Winter Garden. Did I pronounce your name right or wrong?
Yes, you got it right. Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. What is your question?
So I have a question. We're in a small condominium. We turned over from the developer a few months ago, so we have a relatively new board. And it's, when I say small, it's about like 25 units or so. And we had a condo association manager with a turnover. Since then, we've not necessarily been 100% happy with that individual. We're thinking about potentially going self-managed. And before we take that leap of faith, is there any advice that you have from a legal perspective on things that we should do prior to, maybe cutting off that relationship and going self-managed?
Cheryl, do you have a management agreement with this management company? I presume you do.
Actually, no, which is one of the problems. Yeah, there's no contract.
There's no contract with a management company. That seems
correct. Unusual?
Uh-oh.
Yes. Yes. So it's not clear what the condo management company is supposed to be doing versus the board is supposed to be doing. So things are not necessarily getting done, if you will. So before we, decide to just go 100% self-managed, I just wanted to see, one, it sounds like that's probably a problem that there's no agreement with the condo management company. And then two, would you have any advice for terminating that relationship?
Yeah. I mean, I think my best advice is to try to check the official records that you have from, the records that were turned over from the developer. There should be some management agreement there, if not with the association with the developer, but most likely with the association. And that management agreement is going to contain basically, the terms of your engagement of the management company, including should have a termination provision, which will dictate or identify, the terms of your separation. Okay, can you terminate without cause at this point, or do you have to wait a certain period of time before you can terminate? Because you don't want to be in a position to terminate a contract before the end of its term and then potentially be on the hook for some, liquidated damages. So really, try to locate that agreement, review it. If you have, counsel already, have your legal counsel review it and then give you legal guidance on, how to separate from the management company based on that contract.
Okay.
The other thing I'll add is
truly.
I was going to say, if there is,
Ellen.
I think I was getting to the point that you were about to ask about, actually. If there is no agreement that is in the official records, and I agree with Kirsten's suggestion, but if that search doesn't encounter anything that represents a management agreement, one thing you might candidly do is reach out to the management company and say, hey, we're looking at the records that we're supposed to have. It doesn't appear that a copy of any agreement for how you're supposed to be managing our community was turned over in that process. Can you please provide a copy? Now, along the same lines, if there really truly is no management agreement, then it sounds like you really have no obligations towards them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't claim you do anyway. So my suggestion would be reach out to them if you can't find the records that you should have, ask for a copy, and if they can't produce one, ask them, hey, where are we coming from here as to the terms of your representation of this community? If there's nothing in there, Kirsten, you please add your thoughts, but my thought is that you really have no agreement with them other than a previous course of action. And all you should need to do is basically let them know, you know what, we're going to give you a month or whatever the board deems reasonable. And, we think we need to go self-managed, and that's our intent going forward. They'll probably tell you that's a terrible idea. I don't wholeheartedly disagree with that, because it is very difficult to self-manage a community. But when you're saying you only have 25 units, that tends to make it a little easier. The accounting's a little easier. The tasks that you're required to perform are a little easier. So it might be feasible, and it might not be a bad idea. And along Kirsten's lines, I would also suggest, if you don't already have an attorney that you're working with who you trust to guide you through that process, because keep in mind that guidance would normally be coming from your manager, I would strongly suggest you find an attorney that you're comfortable working with and comfortable asking those questions to that in reality need to be answered on a semi-regular basis.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Give her your phone number. Maybe she can give your office a call tomorrow.
Sure. Our number for any of the attorneys. Oh, well, there you go.
Good. Very good.
Thank you.
And with that, I will finally show my face now that
there
I am. So I apologize for earlier not having the video on, but I've been driving
the
last
Rolls
2 hours.
Royce you're in today?
It is not. It's the Jeep.
The wife got it. That's what it was. Okay, yeah. We have another question on our text line. This is from Jeff. See if we can highlight it. I guess we can. We normally can highlight it when there's somebody. Do informational town hall meetings need to be noticed? What if majority of the board is on the panel?
Kirsten, you want to cover that, or you want me to take it?
Seems like it's a question that you've answered in the past.
Maybe once or a million. Yeah, maybe once or a million times. There's no such real thing as a real town hall meeting. If it's a town hall meeting and there is going to be discussion, my opinion is it's not a board meeting. And so the fact that there is a majority, a quorum of the directors there, what constitutes a board meeting is whether or not they are intending to conduct business. And if this is for the purpose of airing grievances and discussing potential options, there's no vote that's going to be taken by the board, which is generally what a town hall meeting would be. It's just an opportunity for the members to discuss potential options that the board will later vote upon. I don't see that as a board meeting, and it doesn't require the same notice as a board meeting.
Okay, let's go back to our chat line. Let's go to Terry in Orlando.
I have a question. I live in a 720 HOA, and we attempted a dock change. The changes were very egregious. The owner shut those down. But one of the things that was proposed to change in the deck was to add a capital contribution. Our community does not have that. I know many communities do. The board is now going to make it a rule and regulation, and I believe they cannot do that. I believe something like that would require a vote of the membership.
Unless there's something already in the declaration that would authorize that rule or that regulation, I would agree with your interpretation that needs to be listed and through an amendment directly in the declaration. And I did a board certification class earlier today. This is one of the topics that we cover in that class. And essentially, this is a transfer fee that Florida law basically says, we don't want this. We don't want to make it more difficult to sell or rent your property. And so as a result, this needs to be something that the members have agreed to before you can charge it. Here's another reason. If that transfer fee is not paid, generally speaking, it's treated as an assessment. The members need to agree to be foreclosed for those assessments. So if it's not in the declaration and there's nothing in the declaration to support it, I agree. You can't just have it adopted as a rule, a regulation, something that only the board votes on. Kirsten, what do you think?
Yep, I agree with that.
So could you vote on like an amendment to the deck that was just this capital contribution and make that effective without recording a new deck that contained that amendment?
Well, you would just record the amendment itself. You wouldn't have to record a full amended declaration and amended. We call that an amended and restated declaration. So it's basically compiling all of the changes that have been made. That doesn't have to happen every time you amend the declaration. So the shorter answer to your question is you can just record the amendment itself along with the certificate showing that you actually properly passed that amendment. And that's good enough. You don't have to re-record the whole declaration.
Okay, so my board is corrupt. So what would be the certificate that demonstrated everybody voted legally and we met the number? What would be the documentation?
It's just a document that certifies that it's being recorded and says that the proper number has been met. It's not technically a legal requirement. It just makes it easier to record that amendment. It's the way that I have always done it. It's not, but that doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Go ahead, Kirsten.
What you will want to do though is you can make a inspection request and inspect the minutes of the meeting and the ballots and the limited proxy, and you can even sit there and count them to confirm that the membership actually voted, or you have the requisite amount of the membership vote to pass this amendment. I mean, that's definitely one way you can confirm that the amendment passed.
Would those votes have to be counted at an open public meeting?
They should be. But you yourself can also inspect the limited proxies and the ballots to confirm that the tally was properly done.
Correct. And I've already inspected ballots in the past and found out that some owners voted for other owners, and there was no proxy, there was no power of attorney. We had people who signed on a ballot that they had power of attorney for somebody else, but there's no evidence, there's no power of attorney on file. So, okay, so that answered that question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to go to a break. Alan, why don't you give everybody the phone number that's good for both your Tampa, Orlando, Palm Beach, and South Florida office?
Yeah, sure. The other one that you're missing, Steve, was Palm Beach Gardens. The number is the number's 954-928-0680. That'll reach any one of our offices. We have the same desk routing all calls to all of our different offices. So that'll reach Kirsten or me.
We're going to go to break. We'll be right back with more Ask the Experts.
K. Bender Rembaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several K. Bender Rembaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. K. Bender Rembaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact K. Bender Rembaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800-974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
If it's just me, but gosh, this month went by fast. We're almost in October already. We're here. This is the Ask the Expert show. We're here with the K. Bender Rembaum law firm. They do community association law, and we have Kirsten and Alan, two fine attorneys, with us. Does either one of you have the calendar for this month?
Kirsten, I hope you do because I'm still in the car.
Okay.
I don't have it in front of you, but I'm actually teaching a seminar tomorrow at 11 o'clock, and it's going to be all about tenants, buyers, and guest occupants, how to screen them, We're going to talk about the authority that you need in your governing documents in order to be able to require an application for these individuals to purchase, lease, or occupy a unit in your community or home, as well as enforcement options of what happens when someone buys or leases or occupies a unit without authorization. So it's going to be an hour seminar. Should be fun. There's going to be a Q&A session at the end. So I encourage whoever has time to sign up, show up.
And then on October 3rd at 8:30 to 4:30, you have the Orlando Condo and HOA Expo.
Yep, I'll be at that one, Steve, and I'll be teaching 2 classes. I believe it's the legal update as well as a class on elections. So those are both going to be in the afternoon that day at the expo. They'll be live and in person. If you ever wanted to meet me, I have no idea why, but feel welcome to come by. And I'll be teaching that live.
He wasn't even elevated.
And and more importantly, my partner Mike Bender will be there as well. He's the guy you actually want to meet.
Okay.
There's also Steve. There's also an expo here in the Tampa and Bradenton area. I believe the October 17th, 18th. Don't quote me on it.
Okay,
I'll be there as well. Mike Bender will be there, and we'll have a legal update. And I'll also be teaching, I believe, the election course. So.
Then I don't know if either one of you are doing October 10th from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Broward County and HOA Expo.
You know, we're going to be generous on that one, Steve, and we're just going to go ahead and let Mike attend that one on his own.
Oh, okay. Well, and then they can always go to your website, kvrlegal.com, and find out when all the classes are. Most of them are all free. And you want to go. Okay, so let's go back to, oh gosh, we've got people calling. We've got text over here. Let's go, and whoever would like to answer this one. This is from Pam. Pam's in Tampa. She's in a condo. See, we're trying to get everybody educated to tell us when they write these questions in if they're a condo or HOA. So Pam listened really well. She wants to know, can you do a lien on a condo who isn't complying? Somebody's having problems.
Depends what you mean by isn't complying.
Right.
If they're not complying with their obligation to pay assessments, yes. Yeah. If they're not complying with their obligation to keep their property clean and not punch people in the community in the mouth, then that's a different story. That's not really something you can assess for. And it's not something you can lien for in a condo context. If you were in an HOA, different story. That's going to depend on what's in your governing documents. But in a condo, nope, can't lien for covenant enforcement issues.
Sophia, I'm not going to say how she knows somebody who lives in a very large condo, and they've closed the restaurants down. And they don't know if they're going to even reopen them. Don't they have to keep those restaurants open?
Well, they should try. Go ahead, Kirsten. I'll shut up for a second.
Well, no, I'm just trying to clarify. So you've got condos with some units, and then some commercial units that have restaurants. Is that the scenario?
Actually, they have 2 restaurants on property, and they had to pay, I guess, an assessment at the beginning of the year. So whether they eat or not, they still got to pay for that.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
Now it down.
Well, it depends on whether or not. It basically depends, from my perspective, on how the amendment was phrased. I'm sorry, the assessment was phrased. If it was a special assessment for the purpose of opening the restaurant, then the association had some obligation to use the money for that purpose. If there's still more needed, then you have another special assessment, and then you eventually open the restaurant. If it's just a matter of maintaining a common area of the association that happens to be running, I won't call it a separate business, but, you know, in, like, for example, a country club context, which is a lot of communities in Florida, it depends whether the club and the HOA are considered one and the same, and in your example, the condo are considered one and the same, or if they're separate. It may be that the club was obligated to get that restaurant open. It may be that the association maintains and operates and has the employees who run that restaurant, and it might be something that they need to get open. But I know that a lot of them shut down during COVID and simply haven't opened up because the business isn't there to justify having it open. If you're paying for it, you should be getting the benefit of that, in my opinion. But it's not something that, you know, a lot of people will suggest that they should be getting their assessments back. I disagree with that. You just reduce the assessments next year if the money wasn't used for that purpose. Kirsten, what do you think?
Yeah, no, just to add to that, I mean, I would look at the governing documents, or if this is part of a rec lease, which we don't know, but generally, the governing documents or the rec lease should sort of outline or provide additional information on, the operation of this, restaurant.
I think, Carrie, Rebel, do we have Carrie on the line again?
Yes, you do.
Oh, good. Let's go. We'll take his call. Terry,
Okay.
we got your back. She loves Alan.
I read something in a legal update about maybe it is now criminal offense if the board denies a request to inspect. Can you clarify and expand on that?
So that would only apply potentially if the refusal to allow the inspection is in furtherance of a crime itself. So what was changed in the statute was essentially that it is now a crime in and of itself, and you're basically hiding evidence, hiding the ball. I'm not using criminal terminology here so that I'm more understandable, but that's essentially what you're doing by hiding records and refusing inspections for the purpose of furthering a crime. Basically, you're trying not to get caught, so you're telling people, nope, you can't inspect those records. That's the only thing I'm aware of. Kirsten, anything else that you might be able to think of?
Nope.
So it's not generally a crime. It's if you are doing it in furtherance of a crime, that is an additional crime in and of itself.
So then, is it an addition? So do you first have to establish that they're hiding and then it's a crime, or it could later on a crime could be established and then that also would become a crime?
Well, as an
I'm aware of
individual
dynamic situations.
Yeah, that's one. There are a couple others that are pending right now, but as an individual, you're not the one that has the obligation to prove that a crime occurred. You report it to the police as what you believe to be an additional crime. The police go from there. You would have separate civil rights to pursue the fact that inspection was not allowed. You might send an offer for precinct mediation. You might pursue that separately, but civil rights are very different from criminal rights. If it's a crime that you're pursuing, you report it to the association because that might be a reason that person comes off the board, and you report it to the police. Beyond that, unless the police or the association ask you for more information, I don't know that you have any obligation or frankly any ability to pursue that in a criminal context. You would have the ability to pursue it civilly separately, but that's all you'd be doing when it comes to a criminal context.
Okay. We are looking at doing our roof replacement on 533 units. We do not have all of the funds, up front from the reserves. So they want to deplete the reserves account, and then when they run out of money, do a special assessment. And they're alleging, but
they're dishonest and they lie. They're alleging that an attorney told them they are obligated by law to first deplete and then they can make these special assessments.
Well, I mean, you do need to use the funds that have been reserved for this purpose before you start charging owners additional money. So I don't necessarily disagree with that opinion. It's just a matter of, are they using funds that were intended for other association assets? Is this kept in a pooled reserve where you just have money and when you need it, you pull from it for a group of assets? It depends on a lot of different factors.
We have 3 reserve accounts. One is dedicated to roof, so all that money can only be used for roof. Then we have another one that can be used for capital expenditures. So it could be used for roofs, but it could also be used for something else,
right? Which
we have other issues. We have problems with the grounds. We have erosion. We have water intrusion. We have an irrigation system. I mean, we have several things. Our property is 50 years old, and it really has not been maintained for the past 20 years. So if you deplete the funds and then you have to vote to have a special assessment, the people who got new roofs, maybe there's no incentive for them to pass an assessment and pay. To me that seems you might not be able to get the votes to pass the special assessment later on.
That's true, but there are other funding options. You might get a loan instead of passing that special assessment, and then you just make it part of your regular assessments going forward. I mean, there are alternatives. The other thing to think about is whether you even can remove that from the reserves. You can right now, but within the next couple of years, depending on the size of your condo, you might not be able to because of some of the reserve requirements that have recently come into place. I know that doesn't help you now, but depending on when they're planning on doing the work and spending the money, that might be something that impacts your community, and that the members are not allowed to vote not to use the funds for the roof or to pass the special assessment. That's actually something I'll be speaking with a group of attorneys about literally later this week at the annual Condo Institute. I know it doesn't help you, but bottom line, if you can't get the funding from one source, you look for other sources. I hate to say it, but I think that the attorney that gave you that guidance or gave the board that guidance was probably correct, that you need to use the funds you have on hand for that, used for that purpose, before you start levying special assessments, getting, construction loans and things of that nature. Guys, I have to head out, but I think that's pretty much the answer I'm able to give. Kirsten, anything you can share? I mean, I have a meeting in just a couple minutes, so I apologize. I thank everyone for their time today. I hope that the rest of the show goes great. And with Kirsten and Steve on the line, I know it will.
Stop sucking up. Get out of here.
Can't help it. Thanks, everyone. Y'all have a great day.
Bye, Alan.
Love you, bro.
The only thing I would add is, with special assessments, especially for these types of projects like roof replacements, you don't need a membership vote. So, if it comes to the point where the board needs to adopt a special assessment to, make up for the shortfall, the board will have the power to do that.
Our deck says there would have to be a special vote of special assessments for capital improvement requires a vote of the membership. That's in our deck.
Sure. But I think in this case, it sounds like you're undertaking the roof replacement as part of a maintenance obligation, right? The roof has, yes. Right. So the roof is already at the end of its useful life and you need to undertake a roof replacement. So there's Florida case law that supports what I've just said, that when there is a capital improvement that is part of a maintenance obligation of the association has an obligation to undertake that. And if it needs to special assess, then it has the power to do that without the need to get membership approval, even if your documents say that. That's
So
different from, I'm sorry, say that again.
The fact that the reserve study doesn't show the roof replacement needs to be done for a couple, 2 or 3 more years, and that they are accelerating it because in reality, certain people on the board want their roofs done, and they are first on the list. So if they are accelerating it ahead of the plan, you believe the board would still have that authority to move forward with a special assessment without a vote of the members?
I mean, I think, I don't know when the reserve study was done, for the roof, but I think if an engineer or a contractor, confirms that there is a need to do a roof replacement, now and as opposed to in a couple of years, then I think, I think the board.
We got to go. We got to
that.
go to our next to our chat line. Thank you so much, Terry. I'm gonna go to Sherry. Thanks so much. Let's go to Sherry. Can we put up our question, Rebel? With respect to Senate Bill 4D, what is required for 2-story condo buildings? And is there a deadline still December 31st, 2024? Boy, you've heard that a few times.
Well, if you're a 2-story condo, I think you're off the hook for the most part. The changes with regard to the milestone inspection and the structural reserve studies, they really only apply to condominium buildings that are, 3 stories and higher. So as of now, there's, those deadlines don't really apply to condominiums with who are under 3 stories.
Thurston, I'm starting.
Stay tuned, though.
Yeah,
see what
I'm starting
happens.
to see a lot of advertising for engineers and architects now. I think they're about to become very, very busy.
Well, you know what? It's not to say that you shouldn't have your, engineering inspections, your, your maintenance done, your, funding reserves. You should continue to do all that. It's just that in terms of changes in the last legislative session, it didn't change anything for the condominiums who are under 3 stories.
Right. Do they count, you see the parking garages that's part of the condo unit. Do they count that as one floor if it's on top of the garage?
What do you mean? Like
So if your unit is on top of your garage, that the first level are all garages, and then it starts the second level, starts condominiums. Is that garage counted as a level when you're looking at 3-story?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I don't know if they counted that as part of 3 levels or not. Let's go to Willis, Rebel. Let's put her question up there. A casualty insurance claim for our condominium association was denied by our insurance company. The board will not tell the owners for the reasons for the denial. Does the board have that authority?
That's an interesting question. Well, I would suppose that if there was a denial, it would have been done in writing, right? So there has to be some kind of written denial, some record of that denial that, should be made part of the official records. So not clear as to why the board wouldn't disclose that at a duly noticed board meeting. But as an owner, you have the right to make an inspection request with regard to the insurance claim and hopefully see the denial. It should be part of the records.
Okay. Let's go to John in Tarpon Springs. How hard is it to get rid of a board member that you're having problems with?
That's that's a good question.
Well,
I suppose the difficulty lies in trying to get the membership votes that you need, because the only way to get rid of a director is through the recall process, and that applies both to condos and HOAs. So the membership appoints directors to the board, and the membership is the only one that can remove them from the board. And under the statute, both HOAs and condos, you need a vote of the majority of the voting interests in order to remove a director. The statute outlines sort of the process. Generally, you can do the recall at a membership meeting, or you can do it by written agreement. And if you actually go to the website of the Division of Condominium, you can even download these written ballots or recall agreements. And, they're pretty self-explanatory. They even come with instructions. So read the instructions, kind of check off the boxes. You'd have to identify the directors that you're recalling. Typically, there's a unit owner representative that's identified on the ballot. And that's really the individual that's sort of spearheading this this whole recall, knocking on doors, getting ballots. But yeah, majority of the voting interest is the vote that you'll need to get to recall a director.
Well, this has been your first show. You've done really, really well. And you're going to be back again on Thursday. Yes. Thursday. Well, now you know what it feels like. So some of the newness has rubbed off. You did great on answering questions. We must have had 11 more questions from callers and viewers. It goes by fast, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
Yeah, it does. I can't thank you enough. You did such a great job. The name of the firm is K. Bender Rimbaum. Do you have that number close by?
I sure do. It's 954-928-0680. And like Alan said, you call that one number, and with the click of a button, they'll direct the call to me. That's the amazing thing about technology these days.
You can also go to KBR Legal. What a great website you have. It's got all kinds of great information on it. We'll see you on Thursday.
Will do.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Steve.
That's our Ask the Experts. They've been with us 10 years, and they have offices in Tampa, Orlando. They have offices in South Florida, Palm Beach Gardens. Great company. We'll be back with you next week at this time. Tell your friends about the show, and we'll see you. Everybody have a good weekend. See you soon.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.